I am Erica Ortegas. I fly the ship.
Hey Star Trek fans, Dan Gunther here. Welcome back to the TrekLore update, where I take a recent episode of Star Trek and talk about all of the recent additions to Star Trek canon to be found in it. This video is all about Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 4, Among the Lotus Eaters. Let's get right to it. Captain Batel is in this episode, fresh off her appearance at Una's trial in Ad Astra Per Aspera. She and Captain Pike are continuing their romantic relationship, however they are having difficulty finding time for it. We also learn that she was up for promotion to Commodore, but was passed over in favor of William Gary. It seems that Batel is being punished by Judge Advocate Pasalk for her performance at Una's trial, and by extension possibly for her relationship with Captain Pike. For Captain Pike's part, we learn from number 1 that he apparently has a history of pushing partners away when they become too close. This apparently has marred a number of his relationships in the past. In this episode, the Enterprise is assigned to return to Rigel 7 to follow up on a previous mission there, referenced in the TOS original pilot, The Cage. Rigel 7 brings up many ghosts from Pike's past. The original mission was seen by Pike as a failure, with the loss of 3 crew members, as well as a number of injuries. The experience on Rigel 7 caused Pike to question his place in Starfleet, and following its conclusion he was considering resigning. It was only the events of The Cage and his experience on Talos 4 that caused him to decide to remain in Starfleet. Thanks to this shot of Erica Ortegas' service record, we learn that her birthplace is in Barranquilla, Colombia. She has one sibling, Fabola, and of course, she flies the ship. She is upset in this episode that she can't join the landing party. As the pilot of the Enterprise, landing party assignments are rare for her. However, her staying aboard the Enterprise ends up being key to saving the ship. Zach Nguyen was Captain Pike's personal yeoman prior to the events of The Cage. He was left behind on the surface of Rigel 7, believed to be killed in action. However, he was not in fact dead, and rather was injured. Being left behind caused him to become disillusioned with Pike and Starfleet. Thanks to his arming locals with Starfleet technology, he was named High Lord Zacharias, and became leader of this part of Rigel 7 in a Heart of Darkness style situation. By the end of this episode, he is in the custody of Captain Christopher Pike, and will be remanded to Starfleet for trial. On Rigel 7, we meet this man, Luke. He, along with the rest of his fellow field Kalar, lose their memories each night, unable to retain any specific memories from day to day. At some point in the past, he lost his family, including his son. He inked several symbols on his arm to remind him of his life, but the symbols for his family were inked over to allow himself to forget them. By the end of the episode, he has regained his memories and tells Captain Pike that he reminds him of his lost son. The primary setting for this episode is Rigel 7. This planet was originally visited in events prior to the first pilot of the original series, The Cage. Rigel 7 is home to a species called the Kalar, a Bronze Age society organized in a caste system. In The Cage, as well as the 2-part TOS episode The Menagerie, we see a reenactment of Pike's fight with a Kalar warrior. In that earlier mission, 3 were reported dead: C. Plummer, M. Aberth, and the captain's yeoman Zach Nguyen, who later turned out to not be killed in action, but rather survived. The landing party was evacuated and taken to Vega Colony to treat their injured, including Spock, who was in danger of perishing were he not evacuated immediately. Unfortunately, cultural contamination resulted from that earlier mission, not just the leaving behind of Zach Nguyen to take his place as High Lord, but also the loss of a number of pieces of Starfleet technology, including phaser rifles and medical equipment. The planet itself is surrounded by a debris field that makes orbits tricky, and it turns out that radiation from the debris within that field is what affects the memories of the people that live on the planet. An asteroid impact from millennia ago emits radiation that affects the memories of the people of Rigel 7. It is this fact that has resulted in the caste system creating a divide between Field Kalar and Palace Kalar. Field Kalar do all the labor of the society and each night forget their memories thanks to this radiation, whereas the Palace Kalar live within the protective walls of the fortress, which are made of an ore which blocks the radiation. Additionally, the guards wear helmets made of similar material, which also blocks the radiation. Thanks to the actions of Pike and the crew of the Enterprise at the end of this episode, it seems that this radiation will no longer affect Kalar society, and it is likely that this particular physiological division will be a thing of the past. The planet Gault is mentioned in this episode, home of a civilization called the Opelians. Ancient Opelian ship captains wore this artifact called an Opelian mariner's keystone, said to guide lost sailors home. Along with the Enterprise, we see the USS Cayuga in this episode, commanded by Captain Battelle. Additionally, the shuttlecraft used to land on Rigel 7 is the shuttlecraft Cervantes, seen earlier this season in the episode The Broken Circle. Also, Erica Ortegas has a couple of models in her quarters, this one of the Enterprise as well as a Walker-class starship. The Walker class is the same class as the USS Shenzhou seen in the first season of Star Trek Discovery. Interestingly, both of these models are the ones produced by the company Round 2. I personally own both of these models, although I have not yet built the Enterprise. And finally, it is worth noting that the wine shared between Captain Pike and Captain Battelle is in fact Chateau Picard. Well, those were all of the Easter eggs and additions to canon that I was able to find in this episode. Was there anything that I overlooked? Please let me know in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Thank you, of course, for watching, and thanks especially, as always, to the Patreon supporters for all of your help in bringing these episodes to you. Thank you so very much. To everyone else, once again, thank you for watching. I will see you in the next episode. Until then, as always, live long and prosper.